Keller Williams Brokers. Our topic today is promissory notes, to use or not to use. A lot of the more experienced brokers are familiar with promissory notes. They've been around for a long time, and of course you'll always see them in loan transactions. But a lot of people think that a promissory note is needed because buyers want to delay the deposit of their earnest money. Say they need more time because they have difficult logistics in getting their money into escrow, or perhaps they don't want to deposit the earnest money until the successful satisfaction of a contingency like an inspection. Well, you don't need a promissory note to change that provision of the purchase and sale. You can write it in on your contract before mutual acceptance if you know that that time is needed. You do have a blank there on how many days you have to deposit earnest money. Of course, if you don't fill it in, there's a default provision that would make it 2 days. But this is definitely a conversation to have with your buyer when you're writing your offer. And even before that, when you're showing houses, how much earnest money they would be comfortable putting down. Are the funds readily available to them? Are they perhaps coming from a relative out of state? Do they have to convert some investment funds into more liquid form of an asset in order to make that earnest money deposit? These are all really good questions and really needed so that you know when you're writing an offer how much time your buyer needs realistically to get their earnest money deposited. Now, as we know, things happen in transactions, and sometimes we think we can get our earnest money in a couple of days, but there's a glitch somewhere. Perhaps we have a client who has to go onto an escrow portal and create a login and a password in order to access these secure instructions on wiring earnest money funds in. And perhaps they're not familiar with that process, and it might take them an extra bit of time to get that done. So if we are after mutual acceptance and you want to change the amount of time that the earnest money is going to be deposited in, please do use a Form 34. That's going to change the term of the contract, and really important here, then that amendment is going to be signed by both the buyers and the sellers. So why is this something I'm bringing up right now? Well, it's topical to us as a firm because we just went through an audit, and we had a transaction where the buyer did need more time to deposit their earnest money, and a promissory note was used to specify a later time for the buyer to deposit that earnest money. However, this happened after mutual acceptance, so Form 31, the promissory note, was not listed on the front page of the purchase and sale where all the addenda are normally listed. As you may recall, there is no signature line for the sellers on a promissory note, Form 31, so only the buyers had signed it. So initially we had no written proof that the sellers had received or acknowledged this change in the contract. So that put us into the category of having a file where earnest money was deposited late without proper documentation. Now, here's the saving grace in our audit situation. Our broker was able to provide an email between herself and the listing agent where it was clear that each of them thought that they, by executing the promissory note, that brought the transaction into compliance for this later earnest money deposit. And of course, the listing broker did acknowledge this and even said in her email, this should bring us into compliance. So they were both feeling like that was the good solution, and we're working a good faith effort to resolve it. However, one little side note here is that email was not uploaded to the transaction file in Command, so we didn't initially have that email to provide to the auditor. So that brings up another issue, which is please upload your correspondence pertinent to your transactions, so that we have that in your command file. And it's for your protection as well as the firm's. Now, there's a happy ending to this story. So after we provided the email showing that the listing broker had indeed received that promissory note and had acknowledged it on behalf of her sellers, uh, we were able to um, complete our audit with no infractions. So that was a real plus. But it was a bit of a nail biter, and I want you all to know that I don't encourage you to use promissory notes. Their use is very, very limited, and you can achieve the same purpose and ensure compliance much more easily. If you have any questions, feel free to give me a call or reach out to me via email. My email is my first name, Susan, at kwrbn.com, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks so much.